Hello, everybody. My name is Blake Hamilton. I'm a history and geography teacher at Corindi High School. I've been mucking around and developing units of work on a software called classcraft. I just wanted to put this video together because I don't think a lot of people know about it, don't know what it does, and how we as teachers can leverage this software in order to gamify our units of work. So this video is just going to go over some examples of how I'm using it. But first, a little bit of backstory. At our school, Corindi High School, each of our faculties are focusing on learner dispositions. In HSIE, we're focusing on curiosity. We're wanting to measure this, and how do you measure curiosity? It's probably something that can be a little bit subjective. This drove me back to classcraft. Classcraft has been around for years now. I only just went back to it because it was suggested by my head teacher that gamification is one of the ways that we can encourage curiosity. And then hopefully there's some sort of metric in there that I could measure it. And I was overwhelmed with all the new features that they've put on there. And I've just been putting tons of units of work and trying out different mixes. But let's jump into it. So classcraft will promote independent learning, student accountability, and gamification. It works in conjunction with Google Classroom as well, which is something that after the pandemic, I'm pretty sure we're all very familiar with using. So let's have a look at the home dashboard. So when you log in, you've done the sign up process, you make your classes, looks very similar to Google Classroom. Here I have my Year 12 Modern History class, so we will click on that. And instantly, there is a whole lot of stuff going on, but let me break it down. Here is a student list. Each student has an avatar. What classcraft does is it focuses on gamifying the unit of work by giving the student an avatar, which then can go on quests that you create. The quests have objectives, which are just like class tasks that we would be doing normally. The avatars have health points, which you lose for missing a lesson, disengaging, giving up when faced with a technical issue, and you can make your own behavior issues there. Just got to move myself out of the way. Action points. They can use their action points to use powers, which they earn more powers as they progress. And they earn experience. The powers, again, you can set them to be whatever you want within the bounds of the year group that you're focusing on. So, for example, this one here is focused on recharging other players because the characters also work in teams as well. And I think this goes without saying that classcraft, if you're going to be working with avatars for every student, they're going to need access to technology. However, I've also worked out a way of leveraging classcraft's quests just for displaying your lessons and showing progression. As the students complete tasks and objectives in your quest or your units of work, they gain experience points. And just like every game, when you earn enough experience points, you level up and new things are unlocked for you. And the last one is gold pieces. When you earn the gold pieces, these go to cosmetics. So they change the look of your character, everything from pets to skins to powers to classes. Believe it or not, when I was talking to a couple of my colleagues, they thought this was the most tricked out model of this character. This is the basic model. Here's an example of a character that I've just made. It's on level 100. You can see it's just in God mode at the moment, but it is got a lot of diversity, and the kids love that sense of customization. I don't even think this is the best bit. Like, this has some elements of class dojo in it, if you've used that before, or any other way of tracking behavior management. And I think it's still really good for the kids to be able to see their XP, and they get like instant rewards as well when they complete class tasks, or just something as simple as, we want all our kids to show up in class, so you reward those kids and you dox the kids that are not making the effort to show up in class or not complete homework and so on. And then they can see it, and the bars are there and they can fill them up and they draw down and all those other things. So the evidence is there, but the quests are what are really exciting. So they're making new maps all the time, but these are the worlds in classcraft. When you create a new quest, you simply name it. This is for the Cold War topic in modern history, HSC. This one's just called Iron Curtain. It's for like the survey study of this particular unit. And you will pick out like a map design. So it'll be like a zoomed in section of these worlds. And really, I've only done 2 for this year 12 class, but you could have this whole world populated. Like, you could have a whole unit of work over here and here and here. And once you create it, it's there every year. So even if you just started building today, or your faculty started building on it today, it would all come together in the end. And this is what it looks like. I think it's a really cool way to show off our history topics. I think what kids mostly do when they're trying to perceive our history topics is they think that it's all linear, that it's just this thing happened and this thing happened and this thing happened, and then they're stuck in this very narrative impression of history. Here, it's set out like a web, and as they move from objective to objective, they, in this particular mode, they need to get a certain set of approval from me in order to progress. So when they first start off, it'll be zoomed in and they'll see the introduction icon, and then the rest of the map will be fogged out. So you get this sense of like discovery as they are progressing through. In the introduction, what I like to do is outline the topic, and you can see that this is what they would see as well when they click on it. They get a story, which you create, or you can take from the textbook. You copy and paste images in, just stuff like what we do when we make PowerPoints, but it's just all here all the time. And then I outline some main objectives that I want them to complete in order to complete the quest. So the introduction, this one's a self-paced one. So once they've read it, they can just tick and go. Here is an activity that I've created based around the Atlantic Charter. And I've classified this one as extension work. Because the survey, it's surface level knowledge and kind of like background, there were some main things that I wanted them to cover in the time that I've allocated for them to do it. And then there are some extension stuff where I'm encouraging them to do homework, which is something that at our school is not always readily taken on. But in this case, there is a reward for doing so. So you get extra experience points and extra gold pieces to trick out your avatar. So what I've seen here and what I can readily see here is that students are engaging with the extension work. So there's my evidence I'm already collecting. So again, I've just pasted in this little bit of backstory about the Atlantic Charter. And then I have a specific task here. So I'm asking them about Bretton Woods. It's one of the practical things that went along with trying to enforce the Atlantic Charter towards the end of World War II. They need to submit their responses via Google Classroom. So what they're doing is they're going through the quest, it's showing their progression, and then they're coming back to I already had it up. And they're coming back to their Google Classroom, where all I have is just a series of clearly labeled like mini assignments. So just like what you do with a normal assignment, you create an assignment, you would leave them a blank Word document, you create a copy for every student, set a due date if you want to, or you can just leave it open. And the idea here is that I'm tracking and I have evidence that the students are completing each, say, syllabus dot point or standard or skill that I'm trying to test, and that I'm trying to give them feedback on. So here where I can click on to see my students turning in their work for that one objective, what will normally happen is that they'll have a look on classcraft, see what the questions are, read the story. They might use the discussion app, to talk about the activity as well. Just get rid of that one. And then they'll come over here. They will open up that particular assignment with the same name, and then they'll write their response in. And the beauty is that I can go in just like the way that we give feedback on Google Docs. You can highlight it. You can give your private comments. You can tell them to unsubmit, to fix things up. But if it's all good, and I've seen this happen in class before, like they're sitting on the laptops. I'm sitting on my laptop. It's just, Mr. Hamilton, can you check objective 3 for me? I'm done. And they'll just be sitting there and they'll just be talking, and I'll have a look at it. It looks really good, meets my outcomes. And you click approve. The way I do that is I come to the overview section, I find the student's name, and I click the green arrow, and then right in front of them, instantly on their map, the fog disappears for that next section of the map. And they immediately jump straight back into it again. And it's this cool little thing that we have with, like, why do we like playing with apps, or why do we like playing video games? It's because this new bit is opened up, and it's like, now I'm progressing, now I'm moving forward, I'm tracking everything. Like, I know where I'm going, or sorry, I at least know where I am. Yeah, so that's the first way of doing it. And then as they're progressing, you can see students are also not all moving at the same speed. There are mandatory objectives to get to the end, but they can really just go down a rabbit hole and just go through the web of these extra activities that can be done, which is great because if you're like me, or if you're in a setting where kids are not engaging with their work or their content outside of school, and then you see this, it's actually like a really nice reaffirming thing. Let's move on to another way that you can use classcraft. So we'll bring this back to the quest, and this is one that I haven't opened up yet. So here again is a different place, and this is focused on the next section of the Cold War unit, and it is looking at the development of the Cold War. So like this time of brinkmanship and the arms race and the space race. And all my activities have a little lightning bolt, which means that I've set all the objectives to self-progression. So none of these objectives require me to do anything once they're set up. The kids self-check and they progress as they need to. Except for the last one. I've designed this whole unit here with the intention that it is more like an interactive textbook. And the end is creating an essay draft. So at the very beginning, what they get is a rundown of the main objectives, the extension objectives that they need to do, the heads up that they're doing an essay draft, a copy of the essay, how they're starting, what the rest of the unit of the works is going to be focused on, so that they're still building up this independent learning and time management skills. And then they progress through the story. They go through the timeline, through the main objectives, and they're working on their essay draft as they go. Sorry, just run low on power. So they're working on their essay draft as they go. And one of the other things that I'm experimenting with at the moment as well is that I've given them the essay question and some suggested points that they can be talking about. So getting them to structure their essays with Peel. So my question, just so they're all on the same page. If I can bring it up. And as you can see, all of them have the option to download the Word documents that you can put in here, and then be another copy in Google Classroom. So no excuses really anymore of like, I lost the sheet. Yeah, so we got our assessment task here. What I really wanted to point out is that they have their question right from the beginning of the unit of work. Assess the role of the arms race and space race in maintaining Cold War tension after 1949. This is taken straight from a past paper. I've set a deadline that the essay draft needs to be done. And they've also got the marking criteria and whatnot below. And in their essay draft, again, they have suggested points. And what I do, just bringing it back, I leave some little breadcrumbs as they're going, because whilst I am trying to let go of the reins, let them do their own notes, at the end of the day, this might not be, this might just be too open for some kids. So in the task section, rather than there being a task, this is a chance for you to give a bit of a prompt. So what point might this information be relevant for? And then I bring up a point that might be relevant to the military and then relevant to politics. And then when we look at peaceful coexistence, we're talking about the economy, culture, and the military. And it's not enough to write their whole draft for them, but it's pointing them in the direction if something's going over their head. As this unit of work would be going, and this is also designed to go over the Easter break as well, I am able to see where kids are up to, jump into discussions, open up further questions, share, and hopefully build on that. So this is one that I haven't run yet, though I am excited about this, especially, again, encouraging kids to do stuff during these Easter breaks so they don't have this 2-week period of just being completely off work completely. Now, I know I've been going for a while, but again, there is more. So let's look at another option. Say you don't want to do the avatars, you haven't got access to a whole slew of laptops or iPads, and you're just like, nah, it just seems too much. Well, what you can do, and I do this for a couple of the junior classes, is here's a great chance to get away from PowerPoints, or put all the work that you've done with your PowerPoints perhaps into this format, into this Quest format, because it's really good for making links back to previous lessons, because the kids see it right at the very beginning when you're trying to set the context. So here, this is for year 7 in ancient Egypt. So again, here, we're landing on a beach, we're going up the steps. And as we're learning about ancient Egypt, we have the basic stuff that we cover that's outlined in the textbook and the syllabus. Look at the geography of Egypt, talk about the social pyramid, talk about religion, the unification of ancient Egypt, and so much more. So what it really does is that this is just like a lesson plan that the kids get to see. So you'd have it up on the smart board. You've gone in and put the information in. I've really gone a little bit extra here and really written out actually a whole story for this unit of work for ancient Egypt. There's this team of explorers who are going to ancient Egypt, and they're investigating the pyramids, and there will be like a narrative prompt as they're going through. So in this example here, the archaeologist who's going to Egypt doesn't want to use a modern map. She wants to make her own map. Therefore, that becomes the activity in class. I set my learning goal up here. You can see I've got a bit of a video from Assassin's Creed. Great replica of ancient Egypt. Have a list of things that we're going to do. So this is like our success criteria, and then some images, and then a copy of like a blank map of Egypt. And then when I'm happy with it, I get to then tick that off. So the way that I tick it off is that you've got 2 logins when you're doing this. So you obviously have teacher login, and then you have like another student login, which I suggest you make anyway, so you can come in and you can test it and you see what the students see. But once you've made it, when you're in class, you log in with the student login. So you have the option to say, yes, I've done this task, and they're all self-progressed. So when we're done with making the map, we move on to the social pyramid, and say I get, 4 lessons into the unit, and our little 13, 14-year-olds, are losing, where we're up to. We can just click on them all and just see, and they're right there. So we're not clutching at straws, and they can see how these ideas build on each other. So where is Egypt? Why is the Nile important? How is it bringing people together in the region? It's forcing all these different groups together. There's finite resources. This is creating a social pyramid in Egypt. Because there's a social pyramid in Egypt, and there is always going to be fighting for power. What does this have to do with unification? These ideas build on each other. And as you might have seen in our previous quest that we're looking at in year 12, these ideas can just branch off, and you can talk about how these things are happening at the same time. if you've gone this far in the video, like props to you. I'm just going to show you just a couple of extra ideas, but I've really gone over the main things so far. If you were just interested to see how this could work for like a geography topic, because it's been pretty heavy, pretty history heavy so far, this is probably the last thing I'm going to do. So this is for looking at land and water management. So one of our Year 10 geography topics. And I've titled this one Walking the Tightrope. So it's already got a bit of a theme that the kids are thinking about at the beginning, that environmental sustainability is, not going 100% to the left or 100% to the right. It's about finding this balance. And when we click on it, you can see it looks a little bit something like this, that we're progressing along, that we have an introduction, we talk about environmental change. I really like to do a bit of a deep dive to just set the context, talk about the Holocene period, which we're in now. If you don't know what that is, it's just setting the frame that climate change is not something that is brand new. It's been around for a long time, and slight changes in the degrees of the planet Earth causes these mass extinctions, and there's been 5 of them in recorded history. And I guess that's just the bit of the concern, and this is the whole reason why we're doing this topic, and it sets the framing for the kids that the trend is, and all our skills are looking at trends from graphs and maps and graphical organizers, that your trend is your friend until the end, or like the trend doesn't lie. And 5 times in a row, every single time carbon emissions have exceeded and thrown the planet off balance, it's been bad for the dominant species. Then you can talk about how the fact that humans are in a great position to buck that trend. And now you move into talking about water management. We're moving along. I have an investigative study over here where we're looking at particular environments, moving into water management, a focus study on the Murray-Darling Basin. Then we're going to be talking about water theft or allegations of water theft for the Murray-Darling Basin as well. And I do want to point out that the investigative study, for example, wasn't something that I was going to do at this stage. But as I was moving through the first couple of topics and from a previous formal assessment task that we did, I was able to work out that this is something that they need to do, and you can bring it up. And these can be just side quests that sit on the side. You don't have to complete them right away. That could just sit there as an ongoing task. You could keep going on with your quest, and it's like, okay guys, we're going to backtrack because we haven't done this objective here, but we've learned some new skills along the way. Let's go back and let's tick this one off. And that's really the same sort of thing that I have here with my Year 8 history class, where we're looking at the New World. They're going through learning about the Native Americans, focusing on colonization of the New World. They still haven't cracked empathy tasks, so I'm leaving this one as something that they can see every time that they haven't got yet. So we just have to keep going back to it. It's just always there, clear as day. I think that's enough. I think you can tell that I think this is worthwhile. It does take time to set up. But once you get going, it's pretty addictive. The way that you can see it map out. And I would suggest that before doing the full scale one, like what I was showing you with Year 11 and Year 12, you just want to get comfortable just making the quests. You can just do what I've done here, set up one for like a junior class that you might have, and just start mapping out your lessons, having your learning goals or your lesson objectives. And it's just start spreading them out on the map and just showing it off so that the kids can see that where they're going with the topic, and that they can backtrack, and that objectives don't always get covered and ticked off straight away, that You know, if we've talked about it, I must know it. It's like, no, and you can show it to them. And then when you get comfortable and you get confident with it, then you can move into the next one. Right. Hopefully this was worthwhile. Thank you very much.